Are you eating what you've always been told is healthy? Low fat foods, calorie counted meals, maybe even the latest superfood powders, yet you still feel your energy fading, your weight creeping up, and the years catching up faster than you expected. If so, you're not alone. Millions of people, especially those over 50, are following the so called rules of healthy eating, only to find themselves more tired, more inflamed, and more confused than ever. But what if I told you that the secret to living to 100, sharp minded, energetic, and disease resistant isn't about eating less, counting every calorie, or chasing the latest diet trend? What if the real answer is far simpler and far more powerful than anything you've heard before? Here's the surprising truth: the world's longest living people, those who routinely reach their 90s and even 100s with strong bodies and clear minds, are not following the advice you see in magazines or on social media. They're not obsessed with low fat labels. They're not drinking green juices all day, and they're certainly not spending fortunes on exotic supplements. In fact, their diets are almost boring in their simplicity. So, what are they doing differently? And what does Nobel Prize winning science reveal about the foods that truly support a long, healthy life? Let's start by flipping the script on everything you think you know about longevity. The real threat to longevity isn't what you think for decades. We've been told that the biggest threats to aging well are cholesterol, calories, and maybe even our genes. But cutting edge research, including Nobel Prize winning discoveries, has revealed a much deeper story. The real enemy of longevity isn't a single nutrient or a number on the scale, it's the slow, silent breakdown of communication inside your body. Imagine your body as a bustling city. When you're young, every system, your gut, your liver, your immune cells, your blood vessels, communicates clearly like a well coordinated team. But as you age, if these systems stop talking to each other, chaos begins. Inflammation rises, insulin becomes unpredictable, muscles waste away, and your body's natural repair systems start to falter. This is the true root cause of aging, not just the passage of time, but the loss of metabolic resilience. Most people, and even many doctors, focus on the symptoms: high blood sugar, high blood pressure, joint pain, brain fog. But these are just the downstream effects. The real issue is that your body's internal maintenance crew is falling asleep on the job. Longevity is about repair, not restriction. Here's where most people get it wrong. They think living longer means eating less, shrinking their bodies, and avoiding every indulgence. But what the research actually shows is that longevity is about supporting your body's ability to repair itself. It's about sending the right signals through food, timing, and routine that wake up your internal maintenance crew and keep your systems running smoothly. Let me explain with a simple analogy. Think of your body as a house. When you're young, you have a full-time maintenance team fixing cracks, clearing debris, and upgrading systems. But as you age, if you keep sending the wrong signals, too much sugar, too many processed foods, constant snacking, the crew gets overwhelmed. Repairs slow down, damage accumulates, and the house starts to fall apart. The foods that truly support longevity don't just feed you, they send powerful instructions to your cells. They tell your body to repair, to balance, to resist disease. And the best part, these foods are not exotic or expensive. They're everyday staples that you can find in any grocery store. The power of simple, consistent foods. So, what are these foods and why do they work so well? The answer lies in how food interacts with your body's deep biological defense systems. Every time you eat, you're not just providing calories, you're sending instructions. These instructions tell your cells whether to store fat, burn fat, build muscle, repair tissue, or trigger inflammation. Over time, the quality of these signals matters far more than the quantity of food itself. Think of your metabolism like a traffic control system. When signals are clear, traffic flows smoothly, energy is produced efficiently, inflammation stays low, and repair crews do their work. But when signals are noisy, too much sugar, too many refined carbs, constant grazing, traffic jams form, insulin stays elevated, fat burning shuts down, and repair slows to a crawl. This is why so many people, especially seniors, find themselves gaining weight and losing energy even when they're eating less. They're under-eating calories, but overloading their bodies with the wrong signals. The first longevity secret: fiber-rich plants. One of the most consistent findings in longevity research is that the world's longest living populations eat a diet rich in low glycemic, fiber-filled plants. Leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, onions, garlic, berries, and legumes are staples in their daily meals. These foods don't spike blood sugar aggressively. Instead, they slow digestion, reduce insulin demand, and feed the beneficial bacteria in your gut. Why does this matter? Because your gut bacteria produce short chain fatty acids, especially butyrate, that directly reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. Populations with the highest fiber intake have dramatically lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, and cognitive decline, even when their total calorie intake is similar to others. Here's a practical protocol. Aim to include at least 2 fist-sized servings of fiber-rich plants at every meal, not juices, not smoothies, whole, chewable plants. This simple habit can transform your gut health, lower inflammation, and set the stage for a longer, healthier life. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the endless stream of nutrition advice, one day it's all about superfoods, the next it's about cutting carbs or fasting for days, you're not alone. But here's what Nobel Prize winning research and the habits of the world's healthiest seniors reveal: it's not about chasing the latest trend, but about mastering the basics and doing them consistently. Why timing matters as much as what you eat. Let's talk about a secret that almost no one discusses, yet it's one of the most powerful levers for longevity. When you eat is just as important as what you eat. Your body runs on a natural clock, the known as the circadian rhythm. Hormones like insulin, cortisol, growth hormone, and melatonin rise and fall on a predictable daily schedule. When your eating patterns are aligned with this rhythm, your body burns fat more efficiently, repairs tissue overnight, and keeps inflammation under control. But when you eat at random times, especially late at night, these systems fall out of sync, even if your food choices are healthy. Imagine your body as a factory with day and night shifts. The day shift handles digestion, movement, and energy production. The night shift handles repair, cleanup, and recycling. If food keeps arriving late at night, the cleanup crew can't do its job. That cleanup process is called autophagy, your body's way of removing damaged cells and recycling old components. Autophagy is strongly linked to longevity, cancer protection, and brain health. The good news: you don't need extreme fasting to activate it. In long-lived populations, eating tends to follow a consistent daily rhythm: meals earlier in the day, fewer late-night calories, and predictable eating windows. Even a simple 12 to 14-hour overnight fast, like finishing dinner by 7 p.m. and having breakfast at 9 a.m., can improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and support fat metabolism, especially as you age. Practical protocol: finish your last meal at least 3 hours before bedtime. Avoid late night snacks. This alone can improve overnight fat metabolism and growth hormone release, both critical for aging well. The myth of constant grazing, another common mistake, believing that eating small meals or snacks all day is better for your metabolism. In reality, every time you eat, insulin rises. If insulin never has a chance to come down, fat burning and cellular cleanup never fully activate. This is why many seniors who eat very little still struggle with weight gain, fatigue, and chronic disease. They're undereating calories but overloading insulin. One of the most consistent findings in longevity research is that centenarians maintain low baseline insulin levels while still eating satisfying meals. This protects blood vessels, preserves brain function, and reduces what scientists call inflammaging, the chronic low-grade inflammation that accelerates aging. Practical protocol: eat 2 to 3 clear meals per day with no grazing in between. Water, tea, or black coffee are fine between meals. This pattern reduces metabolic noise and gives your body space to shift into repair mode. Simplicity over variety. The power of predictable meals. Here's a surprising insight: the world's longest living people don't eat a huge variety of foods every day. In fact, their diets are often repetitive: simple meals, repeated foods, stable routines. This metabolic predictability reduces cortisol, the stress hormone that accelerates muscle loss, bone loss, and belly fat. Why does this work? Because your body thrives on routine. When meals are predictable, your metabolism stays calm, inflammation drops, and your repair systems work more efficiently. It's not about restriction, it's about strategic nourishment. Takeaway: longevity isn't about shrinking yourself or chasing the next big thing. It's about lowering metabolic noise. When insulin is calm, inflammation drops. When inflammation drops, repair increases. And when repair increases, aging slows naturally. Protein, The most misunderstood longevity nutrient, one of the most damaging myths in aging nutrition, is the idea that seniors should eat less protein to live longer. This misunderstanding has quietly accelerated frailty, weakness, insulin resistance, and even cognitive decline in millions of older adults. Here's what's really going on inside your body as you age. Your muscles become less responsive to protein, a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance. In simple terms, the same amount of protein that built muscle at 40 barely sends a signal at 70. If protein intake drops at the same time, the body begins breaking down muscle tissue just to survive, and muscle is not just for movement. Muscle is a metabolic organ. It acts like a sponge for glucose, pulling sugar out of the bloodstream without requiring much insulin. When muscle mass declines, blood sugar rises, insulin rises, inflammation rises, and aging accelerates. Let's use another analogy. Imagine muscle as a large warehouse that stores excess fuel safely. When the warehouse shrinks, fuel spills into the streets. That fuel becomes visceral fat, fatty liver, and chronic inflammation. This is why sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, is one of the strongest predictors of mortality in seniors. The protein paradox: quality, timing, and distribution. Now, here's where people get confused. They hear about longevity studies showing that excess protein may accelerate aging pathways like mTOR. That's true in younger adults with abundant muscle and high calorie intake, but in seniors, the risk flips. What the research shows is that low protein intake after age 60 is associated with higher mortality, weaker immunity, and faster physical decline. Protein becomes protective, not harmful. The key is quality, distribution, and timing. Longevity: focus seniors consistently eat adequate protein daily, spread evenly across meals instead of concentrating it all at dinner. The most studied protein threshold for muscle preservation in older adults is about 25 to 35 grams of high-quality protein per meal. This amount provides enough leucine, the amino acid that triggers muscle-building signals, to overcome anabolic resistance. Practical protocol at breakfast or lunch: include a clear protein anchor, eggs, Greek yogurt, or fish, instead of just toast or cereal. This stabilizes blood sugar for the entire day and reduces cravings later. Also important, protein should be paired with movement. Muscle becomes more responsive to protein after even light resistance exercise. That could be bodyweight squats, resistance bands, or simply carrying groceries. You don't need intense workouts, you need consistent signals. Muscle is not vanity, muscle is longevity insurance. Protect it with enough protein eaten consistently, paired with gentle strength, and you protect your metabolism, your independence, and your lifespan. The truth about fats, gut health, and the forgotten longevity system: fat's friend or foe. The real story for longevity for decades. Many of us, especially those who grew up in the era of low fat everything, were taught to fear fat. We were told to choose low fat foods, avoid oils, and believe that fat automatically clogs arteries and shortens life. But when we look closely at the world's longest living populations, we see the opposite pattern. They eat fat every day, just not the kind most people are eating. Here's what Nobel Prize level research and decades of population studies reveal: your brain, hormones, immune cells, and cell membranes are literally made of fat. As you age, if the fats you consume are unstable or inflammatory, your cells become fragile. Communication between cells breaks down. Inflammation rises, blood vessels stiffen, and aging accelerates. But when the fats you eat are stable and anti-inflammatory, they act like protective insulation for your biology. Let's use a simple analogy. Imagine every cell in your body is a soap bubble. The quality of the fat you eat determines how strong that bubble is. Poor fats create thin, leaky bubbles that pop under stress. Good fats create thick, flexible bubbles that resist damage and repair quickly. One of the strongest predictors of longevity is vascular flexibility: how well your blood vessels expand, contract, and deliver oxygen. Certain fats directly improve this function by calming inflammation and improving nitric oxide signaling. People who consume higher amounts of monounsaturated fats and omega-3 fats have lower rates of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and overall mortality, even when their total fat intake is higher. The key fats that show up again and again in longevity research: extra virgin olive oil, fatty fish like sardines, salmon, and mackerel, nuts, especially walnuts and almonds, avocados. These fats reduce inflammatory markers, improve insulin sensitivity, and support the lining of blood vessels, the endothelium. But here's the critical distinction: it's not fat itself that accelerates aging. It's oxidized and industrial fats, seed oils that have been repeatedly heated, ultra processed foods, fried snacks, and packaged baked goods. These contain unstable fats that break down into inflammatory compounds, damaging your mitochondria and quietly accelerating aging at the cellular level. Practical protocol: use olive oil as your primary added fat. Especially for vegetables and proteins, aim for 1 to 2 tablespoons per day. Eat fatty fish 2 to 4 times per week. If that's not realistic, a high quality omega 3 supplement can help, but food always comes first. Avoid reheated oils and minimize packaged foods with long ingredient lists. Longevity diets are short on labels and long on simplicity. The right fats don't make you old, they protect you from aging. They strengthen cells, calm inflammation, support the brain, and keep blood vessels young. Gut health, the forgotten longevity system. If there's one system that quietly determines how well you age after 60, it's your gut, not just digestion, but the ecosystem of microbes living inside it. Your gut microbiome acts like a control center that constantly communicates with your immune system, your liver, your brain, and even your hormones. As long as this ecosystem is diverse and well fed, inflammation stays low, insulin works efficiently, and your immune system stays sharp. But as we age, that diversity tends to shrink, especially if the diet becomes more processed, repetitive, or low in fiber. And when microbial diversity drops, aging speeds up. Let's use another analogy. Think of your gut like a garden. When many different plants are growing, weeds struggle to take over. But when diversity disappears, invasive species dominate. In the gut, those weeds are inflammatory microbes that damage the gut lining, leak toxins into the bloodstream, and overstimulate the immune system. This process is known as leaky gut, and it's strongly linked to insulin resistance, autoimmune conditions, brain fog, and accelerated aging. One of the most important discoveries in longevity science is that long-lived individuals maintain a gut microbiome that continues producing short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate. These compounds act like anti-inflammatory signals that protect the colon, strengthen the gut barrier, and improve insulin sensitivity throughout the body. But here's the key point: your body does not make butyrate. Your microbes do. So the question becomes, what do you need to eat every day to feed the right microbes? The answer is not probiotics alone. Longevity diets are rich in prebiotic fibers, the foods that beneficial bacteria actually eat. These include onions, garlic, leeks, and shallots, asparagus and artichokes, beans and lentils, oats, barley, and resistant starches like slightly green bananas, cooked and cooled potatoes or rice. These foods don't spike blood sugar aggressively when eaten in whole form. Instead, they pass into the colon and get fermented, producing compounds that calm inflammation and support metabolic health. Practical protocol: aim for 20 to 30 different plant foods per week. That sounds like a lot, but herbs, spices, nuts, seeds, and vegetables all count. You don't need large portions, just variety. Include fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, and fermented vegetables. A small serving daily is enough. This isn't about flooding the gut, it's about gentle, consistent signaling. Takeaway: a younger gut creates a younger immune system. A younger immune system creates a younger body. Feed your microbes daily with diverse plants and gentle fermentation, and you support one of the most powerful longevity systems you have. The overlooked power of meal timing and rhythm. Most people focus entirely on what they eat, but after age 60, when you eat becomes just as important, sometimes even more important, for longevity, energy, and metabolic health. Your metabolism follows a circadian rhythm. Hormones like insulin, cortisol, growth hormone, and melatonin rise and fall on a predictable daily schedule. When eating is aligned with that rhythm, the body burns fat more efficiently, repairs tissue overnight, and keeps inflammation under control. When eating is mistimed, those systems fall out of sync, even if food quality is good. Practical protocol: finish your last meal 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. This allows insulin to fall and growth hormone to rise during sleep, critical for muscle repair, fat burning, and brain health. Eat your first meal at roughly the same time each morning, even if it's modest. Consistency trains your metabolic clock. Longevity isn't about starving the body. It's about giving it time to repair. When eating is aligned with your internal clock, insulin calms, inflammation drops, and your body does what it was designed to do: maintain itself. The science of cellular repair, immune defense, and the longevity plate your body's built in anti-aging systems. One of the most remarkable things about the human body is that it already contains powerful anti-cancer and repair systems. Longevity is not about adding something artificial, it's about activating what's already there. Your immune system is constantly scanning for damaged, dysfunctional, or potentially cancerous cells. At the same time, your body regulates blood vessel growth, inflammation, and tissue repair through tightly controlled biological pathways. When these systems function well, abnormal cells are removed before they become disease. As we age, these protective systems weaken, not because they disappear, but because they stop receiving the right signals. Let's use another analogy. Imagine your body as a city with a highly trained security and maintenance team. In youth, that team is alert and well coordinated. But over time, if communication breaks down, problems go unnoticed, repairs slow. Small issues become big ones. Certain foods restore that communication. What the research shows is that specific compounds in everyday foods activate pathways involved in immune surveillance, inflammation control, and blood vessel regulation, all linked to longevity. Angiogenesis, the blood vessel secret, one of the most important systems, is angiogenesis control, the body's ability to regulate the growth of new blood vessels. Healthy angiogenesis supports healing and circulation. Uncontrolled angiogenesis feeds tumors and chronic inflammation. Foods that help normalize this balance appear consistently in long-lived populations. These include green tea, berries, tomatoes, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cabbage, soy foods such as tofu and edamame olive oil. These foods contain bioactive compounds, polyphenols, flavonoids, and carotenoids that help regulate angiogenesis and calm inflammatory signaling. Immune modulation, training your defenses. Another critical pathway is immune modulation. As we age, the immune system can become overactive in some areas and underactive in others. This imbalance drives autoimmune disease, chronic inflammation, and poor cancer surveillance. Fermented foods, omega-3 fats, mushrooms, and colorful vegetables help retrain immune cells to respond appropriately, strong when needed, quiet when not. Here's the empowering part. You don't need large doses or supplements to benefit. What longevity research consistently shows is that daily exposure matters more than intensity. Small amounts eaten regularly create cumulative protective effects. A handful of berries, a cup of green tea, a serving of cruciferous vegetables, olive oil on vegetables, fish a few times per week. These aren't dramatic interventions, but biologically they're profound. Mitochondrial protection, the energy of youth. Another overlooked mechanism is mitochondrial protection. Mitochondria generate energy, but they're also vulnerable to oxidative damage. Antioxidant-rich foods don't just neutralize free radicals, they activate internal defense systems that make mitochondria more resilient. This improves energy, brain function, and physical endurance, all markers of healthy aging. The longevity plate, a simple visual guide. So how do you put all this together? Here's a simple longevity plate visual: half the plate colorful vegetables and fiber, rich plants 1/4 quality protein, fish, eggs, legumes, fermented dairy 1/4 whole food carbohydrates or legumes added fat, olive oil or nuts. This structure naturally delivers the compounds that activate repair pathways without overthinking. It's not about perfection, it's about sending your body the right signals day after day. The rhythm of growth and repair. Most people think longevity is about eating less food and shrinking the body. But what the research actually shows is that long life comes from better metabolic signaling, not chronic restriction. Every time you eat, food doesn't just provide calories, it sends instructions. These instructions tell your cells whether to store fat, burn fat, build muscle, repair tissue, or trigger inflammation. Over time, the quality of these signals matters far more than the quantity of food itself. Think of your metabolism like a traffic control system. When signals are clear, traffic flows smoothly, energy is produced efficiently, inflammation stays low, and repair crews do their work. But when signals are noisy, too much sugar, too many refined carbs, constant snacking, traffic jams form, insulin stays elevated, fat burning shuts down, repair slows. This is why many seniors who eat very little still struggle with weight gain, fatigue, and chronic disease. They're undereating calories but overloading insulin. One of the most consistent findings in longevity research is that centenarians maintain low baseline insulin levels while still eating satisfying meals. This protects blood vessels, preserves brain function, and reduces inflammatory aging. The power of consistency over perfection. Here's the surprising part. The foods that support this are not exotic. They're everyday foods that stabilize blood sugar, support the liver, and feed the gut. The first category is low glycemic fiber rich plants eaten daily. The second is quality protein distributed evenly across meals. The third is healthy fats, especially olive oil, nuts, and fatty fish. The fourth is fermented and prebiotic foods for gut health. And the fifth is meal timing, eating in sync with your body's natural rhythms. You don't need to chase superfoods, count every calorie, or follow extreme diets. You need to send your body the right signals consistently. Aging is not inevitable decline. Most people believe that aging is a slow, inevitable decline. But the science tells a different story. When you give your body the right signals through food, timing, and routine, it responds at any age. Repair increases, inflammation drops, energy returns, and the risk of chronic disease falls. Living to 100 isn't about chasing perfection superfoods or extreme diets. It's about sending your body the right signals consistently day after day, signals that say repair, balance, and resilience. Your longevity action plan. Let's recap the daily habits that Nobel Prize winning science and the world's healthiest seniors have in common. Eat fiber rich, low glycemic plants at every meal. Include quality protein, especially at breakfast and lunch. Use healthy fats like olive oil, nuts, and fatty fish. Feed your gut with diverse plant foods and fermented foods. Align your meals with your body's natural clock. Finish dinner early. Avoid late night snacks. Move your body daily, even gentle resistance or walking. Keep your routines simple and consistent. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. The real secret to living to 100, the real secret to living to 100 isn't hidden in a supplement bottle or a trendy diet. It's in the simple, everyday foods that send your body the right signals. It's in the routines that support your biology, not fight against it. And it's in the small, consistent choices you make meal after meal, day after day. So the next time you hear about a miracle food or a new diet craze, remember this: longevity is built on the basics. Eat simply, eat consistently, support your body's natural repair systems, and trust that with the right signals, your body knows exactly how to keep you strong, sharp, and resilient at any age. If you found this journey through the science of longevity helpful, remember, it's never too late to start. Your next meal is another chance to send your body the right message. Here's to your health, your strength, and your next 100 years.